Lawyer. I'm your host, Patty Grabow. If you or a loved one has a long-term disability caused by serious injury or ailment that prevents you from finding gainful employment, you more than likely have an abundance of unanswered questions. With us today are attorneys Charles Hankey and Melissa Davidson, who will give you insight into questions about your disability when we come back on Ask the Lawyer.
Welcome to this edition of Ask the Lawyer. Ask the Lawyer is informative and exciting. Ask the Lawyer interviews authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs in all areas of business, so you become a much more informed consumer.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Patty Grabow. If you become disabled and unable to work, you need help to claim the disability benefits to which you are entitled. Whether your disability is due to injury, disease, or other medical conditions, our guests today are advocates for you. Founding attorney of Hankey Law Firm, Charles D. Hankey, has practiced law in Indiana for over 35 years. Mr. Hankey represents people with injuries and disabilities in areas of law such as Social Security disability, workers' compensation, personal injury, and VA disability. Mr. Hankey received his JD from Indiana University and holds a BA in psychology from Wabash College. Attorney Davidson worked with the Charles D. Hankey Law Office since 2000. She earned her law degree in 2006 from Indiana University of Law in Indianapolis and completed her bachelor's degree in psychology from Ball State University. Prior to becoming an attorney, she worked with the Indiana Department of Family and Children as an investigator for Child Protective Services. Both attorneys Hankey and Davidson are members of the American Association of Justice and the National Organization of Social Security Claimants Representatives. Protecting clients' rights in Indiana and the Midwest, the attorneys at Hankey Law work to make sure people get the representation they deserve by people who really care about representing them. Attorneys Hankey and Davidson, it is absolutely an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. Hankey Law, experience, compassion, justice. I mean, this is your brand of business. I mean, the experience is evident by your backgrounds. Let's talk about justice and your quote by William Gladstone, "Justice delayed is justice denied." Why the saying, and how do you apply it to your law practice?
When people get to us, they are at their most vulnerable.
Right.
They're suffering from medical issues that make them tired. They're in pain. They have to deal with medications. It's a whole change that they didn't anticipate.
Exactly.
And they're also in a very weakened, vulnerable financial condition, and their way of life has challenged. The quality of their life has changed, and it's really difficult for our clients, and to have a potential stream of income from disability payments. We do everything we can to make sure that that income stream is available to them as soon as possible.
And that's the justice,
Yes.
to make sure they're taken care of. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now let's move on to compassion. I mean, this area of law we're discussing, long-term disability, is a very, very particular focus of law. Why have each of you chosen this as your field?
Well, it's really it's difficult when people are in such a position of need,
mm-hmm.
and they are then faced with having to deal with people who are out of state. They don't get it. They don't get what they're going through. They don't get the choices they've made, and it's just not right that someone who is a hard-working person who's done the right thing all their lives,
Correct.
And then when it is time to reach that protection, and then they have to deal with people that just don't get it. They're into technical things. They're into it's just not right.
They need assistance. They need assistance. They need hand-holding, because this isn't something that was brought on by their doing. obviously. And why did you decide to get involved in this area of law?
Yeah, Patty, just talking to the clients and understanding the trials and tribulations of going through the legal system and being able to convey their story to the judge or to the Social Security Administration or an insurance company, you know, in a way that is meaningful to the other side, you know, is very rewarding, and it's great to be able to help people at the end of the day.
And that's really what it's all about. Yeah. That's really what it's all about in life. Now, how do you really define long-term disability?
Well, long-term disability is the inability to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, be productive, show up, satisfy production quotas, satisfy the requirements of work, all the requirements of work. And long-term disability actually means not able to satisfy the requirements of any job.
Okay. Okay. And how does one define that within their business? I mean, in the sense that there's the actual definition, but within, for someone who works in the automobile industry of some kind, manufacturing, it means he or she can just not physically go to work at all, be part of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, physically or even mentally, Patty. If a person's unable to get through a 40-hour work week on a consistent basis, then they are considered disabled.
What is a long-term disability policy, and how would someone obtain one?
Yeah, Patty, actually, there are a lot of people in the workforce who may not realize that they have a long-term disability policy. And so I think the best thing to do initially is to go to the Human Resources Department, talk with them about it, and see if they are already covered or if they have the option of taking out that type of coverage. But if it's not offered through the employer, or then they should definitely find an agent or even talk to their insurance company that they may use already for their home or their automobile. But yeah, it's really not practical to go through life not having insurance for your stream of income, for your livelihood. And so, you know, if a person did not have that income, you know, most people can't survive very long without their paycheck. So,
oh, of course not. Of course they can't.
Yeah. So, absolutely, I would go to start with the employer and then look to insurance agents or at the insurance company of their preference.
And they're not very expensive, are they? Or does it depend on the line of work?
It's a relatively inexpensive policy compared to, you know, what we pay for automobiles and homes.
Okay.
And, yes.
Well, it certainly makes sense. It would make sense for us to obtain them. Now, let me ask you, how can someone get a hold of you?
Well, Patty, we have our 800 number that should be on the bottom of our screen here, and 1-800-520-3633. And we can also be found on the website at hankeylaw.com. And, you know, just call and we'll be happy to talk with you in more detail.
Right, and you have a tremendous amount of information on your website.
Yes.
A lot of frequently asked questions and information on each one of the attorneys. And the experience of your law office is tremendous.
Yes.
All the years' experience. How many do you have working with you right now, people?
We have approximately 16 staffers, and there are 5 attorneys right now.
That's fantastic. That's great. We'll be right back with more of Ask the Lawyer.
Part of what makes Indiana a great place to live is that neighbors help neighbors and treat each other with dignity. At the Charles Hankey Law Office, we believe this.
We're Hoosiers living and working here just like you.
Our clients are not just case numbers.
They're people who need help.
And that we care about helping with disability and injury needs.
You may not need us now, and hopefully you never will. But if you do, the Charles Hankey Law Office will be here for you.
If you are unable to work because of a disability, it might feel like you're on your own. You're not. In your time of need, you need the Charles Hankey Law Office.
You're not alone, as our experienced disability team stands up for you and increases your chances of winning your disability benefits.
Our team of local, compassionate attorneys is ready to help.
That's the Charles Hankey Law Office. We're here for you.
Welcome back. Joining us today are attorneys Charles Hankey and Melissa Davidson from the Hankey Law Firm. Right before break, we were talking about long-term disability policies, and let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. What is the benefit of having an LTD policy that can help you in the long run?
Well, the long-term disability policy will replace your income in the event that you are no longer able to work, based on a percentage of what you were earning prior to becoming disabled. Most of these policies will pay for up to 1 or 2 years if you're unable to do your own occupation. And after that, this is where people typically run into trouble. After that, you have to prove that you can't do other types of occupations.
Oh my goodness.
Which can be kind of difficult.
Of course it can.
A person would think that if their doctor has filled out the forms and dotted the I's and crossed the T's, that the insurance company then would that would satisfy them as proof of disability, but that's not always the case.
Oh my goodness. And there's not only medical bills as a consequence of a long-term disability, there are all kinds of other bills in the way, and the way one's life is impacted, period, isn't it? What are some of these other things that happen to people?
Well, Patty, I think what I hear my clients say the most is that when their own insurance company has denied them a benefit,
right,
they are very humiliated. They are essentially, the insurance company is saying they don't believe this person, and so it can be very devastating, not only financially but emotionally.
Of course, and then there's not just the physical, there's the mental. The mental health that goes along with it. Like you said, you feel so demeaned. I mean, you can't fulfill your obligations as a human being with with your family or in society often, correct?
Right. It's hard enough to be disabled, but then to also have to manage the appeals process of a denial. That is very difficult for a person in that situation.
Now, how long does a person have to file for the benefit?
Well, that really depends on the language of the particular policy. And fortunately, the insurance company must provide a copy of the policy as well as a copy of any claims file when there is a written request to that insurance company. And they only have 30 days to provide that information to the person. And if the insurance company does not satisfy that 30-day requirement, they are subject to a sanction or a fine of $110 a day until they do it.
And how does one start the process of filing? I mean, I would have no idea how to start. How do you do it?
Well, the important thing to remember is that you need to go get the application and fill it out, in your last couple of days where you're at work, or if there's been an accident immediately thereafter. Most of the policies will allow you about 30 days to get the paperwork in order and submitted. But that's how you get the ball rolling.
But where do you go? Do you go to your company?
You can get the forms from the company or from the insurance company, either the insurance company or the employer. The employers are supposed to have them on hand, but that doesn't always happen.
You're supposed to have those big they're supposed to have all the written materials up, right? Correct? So they know where to go. You know where to go. Right. When is the right time to find someone like yourself, to find someone who is so qualified to support you in your efforts with your claim?
Well, Patty, if a person has been denied by the insurance company, it's imperative that they find an attorney to help them with the appeal process. Most of these policies, once you have gone through 1 or 2 levels of appeals, if you get to the point where you have to file a lawsuit, oftentimes the file is closed and you are not allowed to submit any additional information. And so generally there is no jury trial. You're not allowed to call your doctor as an